ABC's Charlie Gibson has been trying to get a handle on some of the other stories which are similar. Charlie?
Well, Peter, we've been trying to keep track of the injury situation as it exists. Obviously, the numbers of those who have died today, it's going to be some time before we have any estimates, and properly people in New York and in Washington around the Pentagon are not commenting. They shouldn't, because we don't have any concept. But as you reported a few moments ago, Mayor Giuliani did talk about the numbers of injured, saying at least, and these are very rough numbers, at least 2,100 people injured, 600 taken to hospitals, 1,500 walking wounded, he said, many of whom have been evacuated to New Jersey's Liberty State Park, right across the river, the Hudson River, from where the World Trade Centers were. And we have some further reports. ABC's Cynthia McFadden, who has been down in that area all day long, says that a triage center has been set up on the Chelsea Piers in New York City. Now, the Chelsea Piers is not a hospital area at all. It's an area that used to be shipping piers along the Hudson River in lower Manhattan, and is now used for recreational purposes. There are tennis courts and golf driving ranges and other things there, meeting rooms, that kind of thing. It's a commercial operation, but a triage center has been set up there, and 50 makeshift operating rooms are being prepped, and hundreds of ambulances are there waiting to take injured away from that facility. But they are doing treatment of people right on the site or nearby at Chelsea Piers. Reports from some of the hospitals that are taking the injured. St. Vincent's Hospital here in New York, the numbers again very rough, but an estimate of over 200 that have been taken in there. 3 dead, 18 in critical condition, and the most chilling quote that you can hear, Dr. Stephen Stern there at St. Vincent's Hospital quoted as saying, hundreds of people coming in have been burned from head to toe. Bellevue Hospital reporting more than 100 patients brought in, 2 dead. Beth Israel reporting earlier that 70 patients had been brought in. There are some estimates from hospitals in Virginia near the Pentagon of dozens of people having been brought in there. And I guess the heartening note in all this, hospitals around New York that are not in the immediate vicinity of the World Trade Centers, people saying hundreds of donors are reportedly lined up to give blood outside Beth Israel Medical Center and some others here in New York City. And what I guess is a precursor of what is going to be the kinds of terrible news that we're going to get over the next few days. A spokesman at the medical examiner's office in New York City, the coroner's office, says that for now all of the bodies that are being brought in, dead bodies, will go to the medical examiner's office on First Avenue here in New York. They say they have room for several hundred bodies, and they are making room for more space since they anticipate more bodies will be brought in. One other note to mention, at 4:30 this afternoon Eastern Time, the FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, says that it has activated all 10 of FEMA's regional headquarters around the country, including those on the East Coast and then all the way west as far as San Francisco and the state of Washington. They have activated all of those regional headquarters, activated the Federal Response Plan, which FEMA says brings together 28 federal agencies and the American Red Cross, and 12 urban search and rescue teams are being dispatched. 8 of them are being sent here to New York and 4 to Washington, all deployed to search for victims of what has happened today. And the Health and Human Services Department has activated a national medical emergency system. It's really an unprecedented move, but it could dispatch nearly 7,000 volunteer doctors, nurses, pharmacists, other medical staff to areas that have been affected by today's attacks. So that brings you up somewhat to date on what's being done in terms of those who have been injured and provisions now being made for those who've been killed today. Peter?
Thank you, Charlie, very much.